How we doing, everybody? Welcome to another session of Tyranny of Dragons here on Forgebreaker. Not a lot of really interesting news this week. We made our big announcement last week, which was the Stealing Dragons campaign that's going to be starting. I'll get to that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and cover our schedule anyway. Amongst the Giants returns tomorrow after being out for a month. People being sick, namely me, not really feeling up to being able to run a game. So we went ahead and canceled the last session 2 weeks ago, and we will be going forward with our story. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Fate's game night tomorrow, or Thursday. I think he's still playing Amnesia. I think he's also changing the time from the 10:30 that we originally had him at to an 8:30 start. Again, not 100% certain, but I'll try to update Twitter once I get a firm time for the start time. Replay Friday. It'll be the last Friday that we do with just replay in the morning. Entropy is going to be Sunday. Tyranny next Tuesday. Next Wednesday is Civil War. So hopefully you're going to tune in for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Kind of looking forward to that, because that's going to be the finale of Season 1. So tune in. Going to be interesting and exciting, and they get to fight a god. So pretty fun there. Stealing Dragons. It is our new campaign that is starting. It is the Waterdeep Dragon Heist modules, leading into the Mad Mage module as well. Very exciting stuff. Fully webcam, so all of the players and the DM are all going to be on webcam. So that should be pretty fun and exciting. Hopefully you guys will tune in for that. Let's see, what else do we got? And then Fallout 76. Obviously, we're going to be streaming a lot of that when it comes out, starting with the 30th of this month, when the beta goes live. Those hours that it's available, I'm going to be streaming it, so hopefully you'll tune in for that. So it should be pretty exciting, to say the least. I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are as well. With that, I think we are going to go ahead and move into recap here. Check and make sure everybody's good to go. You guys ready over here?
I believe so.
It looks like my dog is not gonna not play. Like, she is on one, so I'm just going to be muted and figure the shit out. And Steph's coming home at some point, so I have to mute myself again whenever she comes home. So I won't be the most interactive, just until I get everything settled, until she gets home and shit.
Whenever you're ready, have it.
Alrighty. So, last session, some stuff happened. Yeah, a couple things happened last session. Last session you continued to prepare for your voyage to set off to the Sea of Moving Ice, which you've been told about for a little while now, but just finally getting around to it. Some of the group went and enlisted some help of one Gallon, a half-elf forge master, to turn your new friend Tyranny into a shield. It was an interesting experience all in all, but ultimately, with the terms and costs hammered out, you all decided to head back to the trades ward to finish gathering supplies for your voyage. As you were all moving to the trades ward, however, you were greeted by the sound of destruction in the distance and yells of a dragon attack. You rushed to a small square market to find a huge golden dragon thrashing about and destroying the market. It seemed to be greatly confused and was haphazardly destroying the market in the process. As you moved forward, you saw the dragon freeze in place and groan in discomfort. Then the dragon began to shrink. The smaller it got, the more you recognized that it was morphing more so than shrinking. A few moments passed, and you found yourselves looking upon your friend Maximilian return to you. He was the dragon, or the dragon was him. It was hard to say one way or the other. After the initial confusion and somewhat untimely approach by the city guards, you were able to clear up the situation and quickly exit from the market, hawking any more of your wares you wanted to depart with as you left. Max didn't remember much, if anything, of his time with Diderius. All he was left with was a foggy memory, some discomfort in his body, and a book he held in his hand after he morphed back from a dragon. You all decided to, mostly just chalk it up to the gods and demigods manipulating your lives. You decided to go ahead and rest for the rest of the day and prepare to venture to the Sea of Moving Ice the following morning. As you awoke the next day, having felt that you were adequately prepared for your journey, you ventured to the dock ward to locate the ship you had been promised, one named Frostskimmer. You were able to locate the vessel and its captain, less of a half-face. After pleasantries were exchanged, you set off for the frigid land to the north. The trip was pretty quick. Frostskimmer was just tearing through the water at an almost magically fast pace. After a few days, you found yourself amongst large slabs of ice floating all around you, huge icebergs off in the distance, just silhouettes. You set about trying to find this plateau of ice that was described to you. You were able to find it pretty quickly, but not before your ship was attacked by a few giant octopi seeking an easy meal. They ended up becoming meals for the crew and your bear friend. As you approached the now located iceberg, you couldn't see the top of it lying a few hundred feet up in the air, but were able to find a landing of sorts that seemed to be used by other people. As you investigated in the area around this landing, you found stairs had been carved into the cliff face of the ice, leading towards the plateau at the top. You recruited a crewman of the Frostskimmer to hopefully translate for you if you ran into these ice hunters that you suspected were on this iceberg. You set off up the stairs. At the top, you were met by a somewhat grisly sight. Several bodies were encased in the ice, almost as if they were a warning to trespassers. You also found several sled dogs that looked almost as large as wolves barking at you and raising a commotion, signaling your arrival. A few moments later, you found the ice hunters finally. They were moving out of a small village that lied behind a curtain of blowing snow and ice. They seemed to be moving not necessarily threateningly, but very hesitantly at the least, as they moved towards you to investigate. Your crewman translator attempted to speak to one of them, and after a few moments of discourse, you were told that they wanted you to leave. They seemed to be acting strangely, according to your crewman. So with that, you find yourself with a good amount of people standing before you. 20 to 30 of these villagers have moved out, all of them armed with spears and things of that nature. None of them moving really to attack you and such, but all of them moving very hesitantly towards you as you have exited at the top of these stairs. Every once in a while, at the top of this plateau, the wind just kind of howls over the flat surface. It's not perfectly flat. You can't see the other side. There are, imperfections on the ice going up and down. But every once in a while, through this kind of blowing snow and ice, you see what appears to be a village of small structures, as well as some ice. One's made just solely of ice, lying on the other side of this sheet of ice and snow. Once again, the crewman turns around towards you, and he looks very confused. He says, "These people are generally not very antsy around even strangers. They're a shy people, but not one that acts aggressively as these are. But they very much want us to leave."
I still had I had this sword and shield out. I want to sheathe my sword. Still keeping the shield kind of loose, and mention to him, to Wrath, tell them we don't wish to trespass here any longer than necessary. We're looking for someone and information, and as soon as we have those, we will gladly leave.
So with that, the man turns around, speaking to these ice hunters. You see that all in all, there's at least 25 of them that are armed. A few others amongst them kind of stand out a little bit. One of them being this very large man that, even though the ice and snow is making this a very frigid land, it's in real life be about 20 degrees outside right now, if not slightly lower. He's standing out there with simply a fur-looking cloak over his shoulders, and that's it. He's wearing really nothing else. Another one you see looks a little bit more, not necessarily religious in nature, but one that seems to be holding, around his neck, or her neck rather, bones of small creatures and such, and she looks at you very warily. While the big man that's barely wearing anything is kind of just eyeing you all suspiciously, as he holds a big spear, even larger than the ones that his comrades carry, in his hand, poised to stay back or attack on a moment's notice. The man begins speaking to this large individual again, and the man sitting next to him. After a few more minutes of them going back and forth, looking kind of frustrated, the crewman turns back towards you and shakes his head. He says, "If you're seeking out information, they don't have much, they claim at least. They say that there's just their people here and no one else, and they do not want to be bothered. But," he kind of shrugs, he says, "if it'll help you leave, you can ask some questions and I'll translate." And you see him kind of eyeing all the people around him. Hopefully, nothing bad will happen.
I don't want any. Wait, did I lock again?
I'll nod, and again, he's talking to everybody. We don't have to relay anything. I want to tell him we're here in search of a comrade of ours. Is it McCrath? McCars?
Macath.
Macath. She's a mage. She mentioned not only your passing or your coming here in her messages, but said she was going to seek you out, and that is the last we've heard from her.
I feel like I put too many errors in there, but oh well.
Sorceress.
So as the man turns around and begins to translate once again, everybody give me perception checks. Except for, you and you, Tara.
We all see it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Zoran can count the number of birds in the sky.
So you all notice a couple of things happening as this conversation begins to go. You notice all these men and women, especially the ones that are armed, begin to kind of move out in a semicircle, seeming to kind of block your way. Not necessarily on purpose or not, but they seem to be moving out and kind of arching their way to make it where there's no easy way for you to get past them. Everybody but Tara is able to notice, seems several of them, as these others are moving out, kind of creating this semicircle in front of you. You see a few of them kind of moving back and walking backwards and then turning and heading back towards the village. You're able to see in the glimpses, through the ice and snow that's kind of blowing around in the area, a particularly somewhat larger building that three of these ice hunters make a beeline towards, disappearing inside of it. Sorry, I had to get a drink. So as that's happening and the conversation goes on again, your crewman begins to explain who they're looking for, and you clearly hear him saying Macath and crimson. You see a bit of confused look on the man's face that he's talking to. Seems to be the chieftain of this tribe, by the way he holds himself and stands before everyone else, including this very large, half-naked man that's sitting back there with a large spear. They talk for a few brief moments afterwards, and then he turns back to you and says, "They do not know of anybody named Macath that's here. Once again, no travelers have apparently graced these lands in some time. It's just the ice hunters here."
I'm gonna look to Max and say, "What about the horn?"
Willie said he'd be right back.
Oh, damn. I'm going to look to the guys in front of us and say, "What about the horn?"
And we'll say if nothing else, Max asks about the horn. Translation goes on again for the sake of brevity. He turns back around and you see some of the men of the tribe holding up these little... is he back? Maybe? Holding up these little, actual horns that could probably be blown through to let out a warning call or something like that. And they're all looking at them kind of confused. And the crewman once again turns around and he says, "They have no special horns, if that's what you're wanting to know about. They only have the ones they use to call out to each other. Is that what you're interested in?"
Stone Skull shakes his head and says, "The Drakhorn, the one that's bringing all of the dragons."
With that, the man from the Frostskimmer shrugs and talks again, clearly mentioning the Drakhorn, but turns around and says, "They don't seem to know what you're talking about, unfortunately."
I mentioned to ask him if they felt a tremor, a shake in the earth that they can't, they don't understand where it's coming from.
With that, you see them looking around at each other. Everybody but Zorn, give me insight checks.
Nope.
Maximilian and
Dang.
Rogar, you're able to see that some of these villagers are looking back and forth at each other. And a couple of them almost seem to have like a not quite haunted look on their face, but definitely a look of recognition. But with that, the crewman turns back towards you and shakes his head. They say once again, they know not what you're speaking of. They felt nothing out of the ordinary.
All right, it's persuasion check time. I need to. Can I try and persuade them to open up to me through through like gestures and things like that, through my words and how I'm talking to them, even though they can't understand what I'm saying?
You could give him words to say and then see if they carry enough weight to persuade to do something.
Okay. I want to tell him. I don't know what you're afraid of, but you do not need to fear us. We are here to
They can fear us a little bit.
or to protect you, your people, and everyone else on Toro from the dangers that's coming. But we need your help.
Make a persuasion check. So as you're giving these words, very specifically to this translator, he nods and seems to be repeating them. You see him kind of pausing every once in a while to try to get the exact, or as close as possible, the words, to this different language, which he doesn't seem to be extremely proficient with. Knows enough to get by. But as he struggles through it, he kind of nods, satisfied with himself, and you see a few of the villagers turning around to talk to each other. Willie, give me a perception check. So as the group turns around and they speak back to the crewman of the Frost Skimmer once again, he turns around. He says they say that they do not need help or protection, and he kind of glances around. He says they seem to obviously be well protected with just themselves, and they need no one else's help for anything that is to come, whatever that might be. Maximilian, you see the one that you can kind of pick out to probably be this tribe's, shaman or something along those lines. Magical / religious figure with these bows and
person
stuff.
of spirituality.
Right. She's wearing small animal bones and stuff around her neck, as well as her hair is set up with it as well. Kind of grisly black painting across her face and such. She seems to be staring at you, and you see a somewhat pained expression in her eyes.
As this is going on, Stone Skull's kind of looking around. They were really aggressive when we were approaching. Does that appear to still be the same?
They weren't necessarily, and it was my fault for describing it that way before. They weren't necessarily aggressive. They were definitely moving forward in a group and such.
Like apprehension.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Most so, what you'd expect, like a pack of wolves moving out that have been, their territory has been intruded upon.
Gotcha.
Is kind of what it gives you the idea of.
Okay.
Can I ask about the dozens of people frozen in ice that we found?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to ask him what happened there.
Okay. So as you do so, translations happen once again, and the crewman turns back around and says, that's kind of what we thought it was. It was a warning for anyone intruding upon these lands to go back, which he kind of scratches the back of his neck, and you see him, as this conversation has been going on, he's been kind of backing away a little bit closer to you, the group, instead of the ice hunters, obviously slightly wary. He says they still want us to leave.
I'm going to lean over to Ignalia and say, there's no way they haven't heard this horn. We heard it all the way in Waterdeep.
And that's true. Doesn't mean we know it came from here, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah, my understanding was it was being felt around the world.
I get the, I kind of turn my head back to the group. I get the feeling he's trying to do the chief is trying to do what he thinks is best to protect his people by lying to us and keeping us away. With that, I'll turn back to Wrath. Ask if there is any way that we can prove our intentions to be pure and righteous. Is there help, a benefit that we can provide to them of any kind? Name it, and we will do what we can to fulfill it in an effort to gain their trust.
So as you relay these words, you see the crewman once again going through and translating your words, and as he's replied to, you see a couple of the villagers looking over towards the big, huge man of a man sitting back behind the village chief.
There's Stone Skull.
Yeah. The village chief even wears a bit of a grin on his face and nods his head back behind him towards the large man standing behind him. And then the crewman turns back towards you, and with a bit of a sheepish expression on his face, he says, they say their tribe is governed on strength. You have nothing to give to them if you are not strong. They've been looking at you, and he kind of motions to the party as he says this. He says, if one of you would like to square off, as it
Stone Skull.
one of their champions.
I'm gonna push him forward as he's talking. Like, I'm listening. I'm just putting my hand to his back.
You see the crewman already starting to back away and everything. He says, "In and survive and be best their champion in a fight." They are very specific though. No magic. He kind of looks over at Stone Skull. He says, "If you can use any magic, they don't want you to do so. They want it to be martial combat only. But if you're willing to agree to those terms, they say they will be more willing to speak with you."
Ooh, can he use the bear?
They didn't rule out the opportunity to use the bear.
They are as one.
With that, the man says, "I think they want one-on-one, not bear-on-one."
Is there a women's bracket?
This is sexist. We'll go create our own Ignalia.
Yeah. We braid our hair as we walk off into the distance.
All right. So as you find yourself presented with a choice at this point, it seems like the villagers are very tight-lipped and want you to leave.
Oh,
But
there's no choice now.
they seem to be willing to parlay if one of you can fight their champion. And it seems that Stone Skull has volunteered for the task.
I'll tell Wrath that our champion, Stone Skull, will take up honor and strength from our tribe. And it's taking everything out of me to not just throw some sick burns in there, but I don't want to insult the guy. Like, I know you said no magic, but can we use magic to heal your boy after he gets his ass whooped? Or do you have magic at least on hand to fix his broken face? Because my boy, it's about to learn him a thing or two. We fought our whole way here, bro. Like,
I mean, these guys have been living inside of a frozen wasteland forever.
Which means they're
that means they don't have enough vitamin D.
Yeah, right? Their bones are brittle, dog. They ain't got no calcium up here.
Okay, so as Stone Skull begins to step forward, you see this man pulling out a shield from his back and then this large spear in his hand. You see a couple more sitting upon his back as well, a couple more spears. With that, he steps forward and kind of grunts in amusement and then slams his spear off his shield, clanking him back and forth. And he steps forward, obviously ready for the challenge.
And as he does, Stone Skull reaches over to Lingardos's great sword,
No magic.
pulling it out, and with a loud roar, I'm going to go ahead and go into a rage and just start staring him down.
Okay. At that point, roll for initiative.
All right.
Oh,
That's okay.
Dex check.
Dex check. Dex of 16.
His is 15, so you win.
Yeah.
All right, so as you move forward, we'll say you're about here-ish. It seems to just be a standoff fight. You're going to start swinging at each other, and we'll see who comes out on top. So, you're able to go first.
All right. Then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move forward and swipe twice with the great sword. Ooh. That's better. 19.
Give me 1 second. I'm creating a backdrop here, boys.
totally worth it.
They don't want any.
Yeah, that's not as many as there. Just paste one more group.
There you go.
Wait, where are we?
No, we're
Hello.
down to-
Oh, I see this.
That's the warrior. Don't do that. There we go. Okay.
Form a circle.
It's a circle. Do.
Those
Yeah,
super
Stone Skull, there ain't no
This
retreat.
looks more like an
Neither.
eyeball,
You're
but I like
finishing
it.
There we go. And there we go.
Come on, let's go. I want to kill him. Come on.
Smacks over. animated
Okay.
pipe.
Do. All right, so a 12 unfortunately is going to miss. As you bring around your second attack, however, with the sword, you're able to land a hit upon this warrior.
All right. Dealing 18 slashing damage. And I'm going to go ahead and just action surge and do that all over again.
Okay.
21
Mm-hmm.
and 26.
Yeah. It was going to hit.
15 and 14.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Nope. I'm good.
All right, so 4 heavy swings coming around, Stone Skull moving agilely through this frozen wasteland, able to bring this great sword around and hit this warrior 3 times for some good chunks of damage. You're striking him hard as his muscles kind of tearing with the force of it and such, but he's definitely still standing. And with that, he is going to move forward and rebuff upon you. He is going to attempt to hit you once with the spear. A 10.
Nope.
A second one, he's going to reach out and try to hit you with his shield.
Okay.
A 25.
Yeah.
I will need a strength saving throw, please.
Strength save. Okay.
All right, so you keep your footing as you're slid back a pace, and then he kind of vaults forward, bringing the spear forward one more time. And a 9 will not hit. So you take 7 bludgeoning damage from the shield attack.
Okay.
And we're back to you.
Yeah, same thing, because that's what I do. 19. 22.
Will hit. Both of those hit.
All right. Another 17 and 12. Wow, that's super low.
Okay. Both those hit.
Okay.
So with some big hits, greatsword coming around, taking this guy down. You see him starting to look very tired with these gashes across his chest. One strike across his arm is kind of weakening him a bit, but he lunges out again, this time leading with the shield. And 11's going to miss. Then going around twice with the spear. 19 and a 9.
Yep, 19 hits.
All right, so that'll catch you for 15 piercing damage.
7.
Okay.
Okay.
And that will be his turn.
All right, same thing. 16 misses. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Oof.
26. 28.
28 total damage.
Mm-hmm. How's he looking? He looked pretty beat up.
After that crit hit, yeah, very beat up now.
It took 3 rounds for me to beat on him to look beat up.
So you bring this great sword around. You see that your attack is going down right towards him, but you see him duck under it and bring his shield up, parrying it away so that he isn't struck by the first attack. But you catch him as he's still recovering with a huge hit across his side. You see blood now trickling aimlessly down his side, down his leg, onto the ground. He looks very beat up, but he growls in frustration and charges you again.
Oh, that is super unfortunate. It'd be awful if he lost his shield.
That would be mighty, mighty unfortunate. Crit table open yet. There we go. 64. That doesn't bode well. Okay. Okay.
Come on. I thought he wanted some.
So he starts to lose the grip of his shield, but he's able to catch it at the last second, and he turns back around, attempting to hit you with the shield once again. 19?
Yep.
And
Strength
then-
save?
Yep.
Okay. Oh.
Ooh, and you are knocked prone. Not the one with arrows. Where's the one without arrows? There it is.
Okay.
And he then brings his third attack around with advantage. 11 still isn't going to hit, unfortunately. As you roll out of the way, knocked onto the ground by him. He still has some fight left in him, but he doesn't look like he can take much more abuse.
Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and continue rolling, come to my feet over here at the side, and start with kind of like an upward swipe with the greatsword here. 23 hit.
Ooh. And as you hit him with that, bringing it up with the upper swipe, you see him trying to lean back away from it, but this somewhat iron wrought helmet that he had on his head is caught by it and knocks it flying off his head, and he falls to the ground, not moving.
I'm going to kind of flourish the great sword, plant the tip of the sword into the ice, and just kind of kneel and wait.
So as the scene unfurls, you see the champion of this village falling to the ground, Stone Skull not taking much damage at all from this fight. You see the shaman of this group running forward, and she places her hands very quickly on the side of this man's head. And you can all clearly tell that she is healing him as she casts Cure Wounds. Oh, it's not on the spell list? Shit. This is fine. Whatever. She heals him up for a few points. With that, this man that you were able to tell was the village chief steps forward, and you see him walking up, looking down at the fallen man, and then looks over to Stone Skull, and he just slowly nods in your direction. You see the crewman walking back over to you, and he speaks a few words to the village chief, and then turns back to you. You see all the rest of these warriors and a few of the commoners and such turning and still looking at you, kind of backing away from you more so than turning away from you. Their spears and such seem to be raised up. They're not pointed at you any longer. And they all start to slowly retreat back towards the village.
Before they go much further, I want to step up, and I'm gonna raise one hand, make it glow, heal Stone Skull, and then with the other, I'm going to reach into my bag of holding, pull out the white dragon scale, and then just throw it onto the ground in front of him.
Okay. Everybody give me perception checks except Tara.
Don't tell me what to do.
I'd do it anyway.
Really? Dual threes?
So...
Didn't want any chat. Told you.
Yeah, Stone Skull... Yeah, all y'all are able to see this. So, as Ignalia raises her hand, you see a couple of the villagers, especially the chief, kind of give a scornful look in Ignalia's direction as she casts this magic. But as she heals up Stone Skull and then tosses this white dragon scale, the entirety of people paying attention to it freeze in place, and they stop just staring at the scale.
I take it you know what that is then, yes?
As you say that, the... let me see if I can get this right. 1 second.
I love how bags of holding, like, you know, they just imagine reaching down to your elbow and then pulling out with like a dinner plate, or what, like a shield, like an arm's length shield. Toss it down there. Yeah.
I really wish I had just kept his eyeball or something.
Just get one of his teeth.
So as you say this out loud, Ignalia, the village chief walks over, standing next to the scale that you toss on the ground. He seems to just be looking down at it. He looks back up at you, Ignalia, and in this very broken tongue, he begins to speak in common, in a dialect that you kind of recognize from those that live at the very northern edge of the Sword Coast. He says, "We thought a ghost came back to..." He thinks for a moment, looking down at the scale, and he says a word in that language he was speaking before, and the crewman steps in and he says, he thinks a ghost is back to haunt them.
Does a ghost have a name?
With that, the village chief nods. He says, there was one who bore scales similar to that, and he points down at the ground at the scale. Name was Old White Death, but long dead now.
perhaps need to. I'm just using purposely broken, common. Perhaps need dead again.
With that, the chief takes a couple steps back away from the scale, visibly uncomfortable seeing it. With that, he looks back at you and says, "Old White Death gone. Thinks not coming back." With that, he shakes his head and he points down at the scale. "Bad luck." And he turns around and starts walking. And he kind of waves his hand in the air and he shouts over his shoulder, "Come, come." And with that, the entire group, all of them looking a bit uneasy, starts retreating back towards the village.
I'm following him.
I'll pocket the scale.
After sheathing the great sword, Stone Skull will walk over and extend his hand out to help the other guy up off the ground.
As you do so, his eyes open. He looks visibly pained, but as he sees you, he reaches up and grabs your arm around the wrist and hoists himself up next to you, and he looks down at you and probably looks you more so in the eye. Y'all are about the same size. He kind of nods to you slowly, much like the village chief did, and you see him kind of touching his chest. He says, "Me, Orca Heart." And with that, he seems satisfied and nods to you, Stone Skull, and starts walking back to the village.
Okay.
I'm going to turn towards Ignalia. What's an orca?
I don't know if I know.
Maximilian,
Yes.
Large fish.
Don't forget the bears with us.
give me a... Yeah, we'll worry about that in a minute. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Holy cow, I can add it myself.
Oh god, a bear.
It's a bear!
Oh my god.
I don't like him.
I didn't know I could do that.
Money.
You feel a psychic presence beginning to creep across your mind. At first, you immediately raise your defenses to fight off an attack, but then you see it's just probing, almost as if asking for permission.
I want to turn and look at the shaman eye to eye.
As you turn towards her, you see her staring directly at you.
And I'll let a small, imagine it's like that mental fortress, I'll open the gate, but warily so.
So as you do so, you feel a voice, and initially it sounds like just garbled speech, very similar to the language that was being spoken before, but then it kind of changes and melds in your mind to something you can understand. It almost sounds like it's being spoken in common, albeit with a heavy accent, and you hear the words, "Do not eat what they bring. Come see me after." And with that, she seems satisfied and nods to you and then takes off after the rest of the group.
Now, give a curt nod as well.
Huh. Trying to poison us, are they?
Turn back
Bastards.
to the rest of the group. I think we have an ally here. And as much as they talk about strength, she fears that they're going to try and poison us. No eating or drinking anything that you didn't bring with you.
Sounds easy enough. I don't like fish.
All
They
right.
think they can't take us physically, so they're gonna resort to more cowardly means.
I think we scared them.
Alrighty. So as you see Orca Heart as well as the villagers heading back, you follow in suit. You were led to a somewhat larger tent, not quite the one that you saw earlier, where some people had disappeared into, but one slightly bigger than the other ones, and the village chief kind of motions for you to go into it. As you move forward, following his instruction, you see most of the village seems to be kind of returning back to their tents and such, to get some shelter from the ice storm that's kind of blowing over the area currently. As you move into this tribe leader's tent, you see it's modestly furnished. You see a few skins as well as what appears to be this kind of rubbery textured hide that you can only assume probably comes from seals or something of the like that lives in the water, kind of laid out around to make bedding as well as sitting areas. And he kind of motions for you all to sit down. As you all move in, the bear staying outside. Where's your village one? There it is. All of you making your way inside and sitting down. The village chief kind of nods to you all and once again attempts to speak to you in this very broken tongue. He says, "We know not of this Macath you seek. We simple folk live off land, try to survive. And with that, he kind of shrugs, and he nods to you all and kind of holds his hands out again. He says, "You all guess here, and he kind of taps his chest, my guess will feed," and he kind of points up to the sky, "stay for dark," and then he points back out towards where you came from. He says, "leave in morning."
I'm going to slightly, like kind of lean my head in and acquiesce, but say, we can't leave. We have to find this horn.
With that, the chief looks confused again and thanks for a few moments and shakes his head again. He says, "Know not of horn. Know not what seek, but cannot
I want to
stay."
lean across as he's saying that, and lean into, "I do not believe you."
With that, he looks at you and he seems very confused, like he didn't quite understand you.
Is Wrath there?
Yeah, Wrath came with you.
I'm going to tell Wrath, say this explicitly. It's probably easier for you to understand this in your native tongue. I do not believe that you know nothing about the horn or my friend.
Make a persuasion check to see if Wrath will even agree to say this.
He's doing it.
So with that, Wrath very hesitantly nods and begins to speak to the village leader again, and you see the village leader getting visibly upset.
I want to have like my palms open and like upward. It's not a threat. This is very much like matter of fact.
You see him still, as he looks down at you, he seems just taken aback and offended. And with that, he kind of snarls a bit, not aggressively, but more so out of frustration, and shakes his head. He begins starting to walk towards the front flap and speaking to Wrath once again, your translator. And with that, he nods towards Wrath and then exits from the tent. As the display ends, Wrath turns towards you and he says he doesn't understand why. He kind of thinks. He says these people, they're solely about survival, and I don't think he understands why you're here and why you're asking questions. It seems to. He shakes his head. It seems to upset him. I don't understand why. The ice hunters they're reclusive people, but they're not aggressive. They're not dismissive like this. It's very odd.
Odd indeed. I'm gonna turn Stone Skull, Terra. Stone Skull, use your eyes, Terra. Keep your senses open. Maybe even take post outside the tent. I don't trust anything that's going on here.
Me and Mr. Pebbles are on it. I will do just that and head outside. Hang with Mr. Pebbles.
Steve, or Rogar, did you see the larger communal tent the first couple peeled off to? I'm going to stand up and slowly start humming and charge electrical energy or magical energy into my hands and discharge that into Steve and remove his form.
Okay.
Go take a peek and tell me what you see.
As this happens, Wrath kind of lets out a little whistle, and that's impressive.
I'll turn to Wrath too. If you find yourself in danger, stick near me. I will at least give you cover of escape, should things turn.
With that, Wrath kind of nods a bit sheepishly. He says, "My friends, I'm not a fighter. I'm not too ashamed to admit that at the first sign of danger, I'm going back to the ship as fast as my legs will carry me."
And now clasp him on the shoulder and say, as you should. The forces at play here are not for the uninitiated.
Tara, hearing all this, is going to stick her head back in the flap. Just please don't leave us here.
With that, Wrath turns around to you with a bit of a grin on his face and says, Lestava was paid to do a job, and he owes some favors to... he kind of shrugs and shakes his head. To some higher-ups, as it were. We won't be leaving you, at least not willingly.
To recap to everybody who is joining us,
All right, then. We'll do our best to keep y'all alive.
we're kind of dealing with a situation here where we're trying to hunt down the Drakhorn, which has been blown across the globe and is gathering dragons to gain power. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and every time that this horn is blown, it's drawing attention somewhere in the realm. Dragons are getting a little more aggressive than they were before. We're at the area that we believe is supposed to be where the Drakhorn resides. We're here to take this horn down and prevent them from basically causing us more trouble in the future. The problem is the villagers are not willing to cooperate with us, and we kind of have a sneaking suspicion that they're in on this because there's no way in hell they haven't heard this horn being so close to where it's supposed to be at. So we're kind of pushing this to see what's about to happen.
But if he does agree that it's been far worse as usual, ask him, if it comes from a certain direction or if there's an area that might always be covered in snow.
With that, he nods. He says, I think I can manage that.
Excellent, thank you.
Alright, so what's y'all's plans?
This is what looks to be the chieftain's tent.
You assume so. It's larger than the others, and it was one that he specifically led you to.
I'm gonna stay put here. It's the only real focal point that anybody knows. We're strangers here, so Rally Point Alpha.
Okay.
I'll be standing watch, per se, outside.
I'll probably guard around. Actually, do we still want me out there if Tara and the Golem's going to be out there too?
The bear's out here, too.
Yeah, and the bear's out there.
I have no idea what to tell him to do anything, but I figure if he's hungry, he'll help out.
Yeah.
I think the more numbers we have outside will be a deterrent to anyone seeking violence. It'll be enough to keep the commoners away.
Okay. So with that, Stone Skull will join Tara and probably start a fire or something. I imagine they have fire pits or something on the outside of these.
As you move outside, you would have noticed coming up, there were no fires at all.
I was going to start one for Tara, but if not, that's fine.
Oh no, I'll be good all night.
The picture's a little bit deceptive. These aren't... You see no wood in the area.
Yeah.
There's no trees here in this entire land.
Right.
You haven't seen a tree in...
It's all bones.
Yeah, it's all made out of bones, and then this, maybe like polar bear hides or things of that nature strung across the bones and such to make these tents.
Right.
Stone Skull, as you're looking around, making your way outside, give me a survival check. Steve, are you chilling in there, or are you going to go survival, not stealth? Or are you going to investigate while you're invisible?
I'm going to go investigate while I'm invisible.
You've got an hour, so we're not like in a super rush.
Nope.
It's a long time. Okay. Stone Skull, you notice something a little bit odd. You're not entirely sure what the meaning of it is, but you're able to tell as you're looking around. You don't see any fires and such, so you start looking around to see different things about this village, and you see a few oddities here and there. Everything's iced down below your feet. The tents, like I said before, are made out of these bones interlaced together with hide and seal flesh, and maybe some larger creatures like small whales or something like that. You also see that there's racks where it seems like out here in the open sun, as well as the wind and such, where meat is drying.
Mm-hmm.
And you see more of it, and more of it, and more. Every single tent, there seems to be drying meat outside, or meat set out to sit out in the cold to be preserved. Far more than the 50 or so tribe members would need for quite a while to eat. It's going to end up, even in this cold, this frigid land, it would probably end up spoiling before they were able to eat it all.
Can I get like a rough estimate of about how much it is?
It could feed probably 3 times this amount of people.
Okay. And Max, are you inside the tent?
Yeah.
Okay. After kind of looking around and taking note of this, I'm gonna let a bit of a whistle out to try to get Max's attention. Maybe kind of tap the sword to it. To the
you
tent.
also have to remember that these guys can't really understand much of what we're saying.
That's true.
I also speak giant, and I think you do too.
I do as well.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, just to try to get Max's attention to get him to come out.
I mean, I hear a commotion by the front, and I imagine Stone Skull's, even his light whistle is quite loud. I will make my way, out past Ignalia, to the flat outside. What is it?
Kind of look around and kind of point off to the sides and say, it's an awful lot of meat for a small village like this.
I'll kind of cock my head at him. What do you mean? Wouldn't they be storing this and keeping this for themselves in leaner times?
Stone Skull shakes his head and says, the tribe that I come from, we were of numbers similar, but never would we have this much food. It wouldn't last.
And these don't seem like the type to waste.
Kind of shakes his head.
Do you think they're planning on leaving, or do you think they're feeding someone else?
Kind of looks over at Max and says, something bigger than them.
Good point. Okay. Keep a double eye out. If you notice anyone even as much as watching us, let me know.
Stone Skull kind of nods, and I'm, from this point, going to keep an eye on the food and watch to see if I see people taking it anywhere.
Okay.
When I come back into the tent, it's just me and Ignali in the tent, right? Oh, and Steve's already, is Rogar taken off?
I assume so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I come in and just, to Ignalia. So there's they're preparing food outside, but Stone Skull doesn't believe that all the food's for them. It's too much food than they could possibly consume.
I'll just kind of raise an eyebrow to that and say, I think we've all gotten to the same page. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, we just got to figure out where whatever it is they're feeding. I'm not convinced it's one thing. I think they rebuffed us too quickly. It wouldn't make sense if it was just one dragon. I'm thinking the cult is here.
Have you heard legends of how large they can gather? Did you hear his talk of the old white death?
I'm not worried about one dragon. I'm worried about multiple dragons. I don't think that there's nearly enough food or resources on this entire plate. This glacier to support more than one dragon. We've already taken one of those down.
We've taken a dragon down, but
From
we're
outside
preparing for the
Terra,
advent of the goddess of dragons.
Terra screams, "That other one ran away. It counts."
She's great.
Either way, we can all agree that this chieftain is not our friend. He might not mean us ill, but he's not going to help us.
No, on that we can agree, but perhaps we can inadvertently get him to give us a bit of information, and to that I'm going to look over at Wrath and kind of ask if he's learned anything with those questions.
He kind of shrugs. He says, "The chief hasn't returned. I mean, I could seek him out if you want me to."
Oh, okay, that's what I was missing.
Yeah, the chief left. He kind of left a little bit frustrated with Maximilian's line of questioning.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So whenever he returns, let's ask those questions next. Because if you can recall, they claimed that the power of more ancient dragons had even an influence on the environment. It would be a nice warning sign if we saw a blizzard coming our way.
That would. Hopefully, we can trust something that he says. And hopefully, it'll help, even if he doesn't want to be.
We'll just keep our interest nice and calm. Seem, casual about our inquiry.
I'm imagining we're kind of passing the time to waiting on the chieftain to return, and then, if and when he comes back, and then waiting on Damien to return. So, I mean, if we need to give Damien the keys.
Time for Damien to drive.
Oh, y'all keep doing your thing. Damien's already doing things.
If any of you play games with me, you don't want me driving.
You have to get your license eventually.
When were we supposed to go see the shaman lady again?
Stone Skull kind of shrugs.
Yeah, I heard shaman lady. I want to gather as much information as we can on our own, because my thought is there's no guarantee we can trust anybody here. So get as much information as we can. If what she says jives, then we'll proceed from there.
Stone Skull and I could just kill our way to the answers.
If they promise violence,
Gentleman Joe, thank you
it's not
for
that
the
I'm not
host,
opposed.
my friend.
I'd
Very
rather
much
it not come to that.
Alright.
At least, they're here by birth.
And then the wolves came. There's some simple people in a harsh environment. They're under, circumstances that we aren't, and vice versa.
I'm currently under the same harsh environment.
Yeah. So, which is why we should do our utmost best to leave them be and get out of here while we can.
So, Girl Fight Club. Let's go.
It's number one rule.
All right, I'm doing the whole wrapped up display, wrapping my fists.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to investigate, go look at, or whatever? Or are you just waiting at this point?
Waiting and watching.
I'm on guard duty.
Have they, in case I missed it, have they tried offering us anything like the shaman had warned us about?
No. Yeah, you essentially went back to this tent under the lead of the tribe chief. Brief conversation. He got frustrated, said, you're his guests. You can stay here for the night, but then you need to leave in the morning. That was about it. And he left
Y'all
and
gotta
kind of
get.
left you there. Stone Skull and Terra, you can clearly see people moving, to and from some of these tents, but you see at least 4 or 5 of these, you assume to be the warriors of the tribe, kind of keeping a stakeout, not being super obvious about it, but obvious enough for you all to see them. They're obviously watching the tent, keeping an eye on you all.
Stone Skull will wave.
They kind of look away very quickly, trying to pretend like they didn't see you. Anything else you want to look at, Steve? Okay, we'll just go back to voice for this. So yeah, you see the rope is coiled up on the wall, and it seems to be attached to that pulley.
So it just goes to the pulley, nothing else.
The pulley's kind of attached to the wall. You see that it would hang kind of over that back corner of the room if it was unstrung from the wall. But it doesn't seem to be attached to anything else except the rope that's coiled up on the wall.
Okay.
Give me an investigation check.
Awesome.
So this kind of mixture of wood and bone floor down beneath you as you walk up to this rope and pulley. It, once again, kind of striking as odd for it to be sitting here. There's, typically they're used to, pulleys are used to lift or lower things, and this is just sitting in the middle of a room or in the back corner of a room. You walk up, and the sound of your footsteps visibly changes as you get closer to the pulley and get to the back corner. Whereas you had walked through the room and you had seen the white of the ice and snow down beneath the wooden planks beneath your feet. As you move forward closer to this pulley, you see just darkness now lies beneath the planks.
Oh.
Darkness beneath the planks means it's a trap.
Investigate the darkness.
I mean, it's real dark.
Don't
It's behind some wood planks that do seem like they're kind of loose.
That's a naturally occurring hole in the frost. They just put a floor over it so they wouldn't fall in it on accident.
It makes sense. That's what I would do if I had a tent.
No, you don't build a tent on a giant hole. That's what you do. That's what you do it.
It's true. You don't build a tent on a giant hole.
The tent was here before the hole.
What ice fishing?
What?
Ice
Ice fishing in a cavern? It needs water to fish.
Couple 100 feet above the sea below you.
I'd love to see Davey just throw a fucking a rod or reel just off the side of the Grand Canyon.
All
I
right.
didn't catch anything.
Anything small that I could toss into random hole?
It's pretty small. I mean, it's in, you're seeing what appears to be a hole beneath these planks of wood. So you gotta think there's like a 1/4 inch in between these planks that you're looking through.
All right. Can I move one of the planks out of the way?
Sure. Give me a stealth check.
Quietly.
Yeah, give me a stealth check. So as you do so, moving to the edge of the tent, you see that these a few of these planks are obviously very loose. They seem to be regularly pulled up and moved out of the way. So you quickly do so, seeing that the nails don't do anything. Moving it to the side, you peer down into this hole, and now you can clearly see what appear to be rough-hewn steps in the ice leading down this hole down below you.
I'll move more planks so I can make my way down the steps.
Okay. Yeah, you have to move about 3 of them out of the way. You'll be able to do that without making much noise. And you see the steps are, immediately kind of curving off to the right and leaning down. It seems to be a tight spiral that you can walk down.
Okay. It's still dark.
Still very dark. How you just going to start walking down the steps?
Is there anything I can use for a torch?
You could. I mean,
Nope,
if you have a torch on your person, I would guess you would have a torch, maybe.
It's true.
As far as stuff around you, no. There's ice around you now.
Okay.
Give me a perception check. You clearly hear language that you don't understand, but you are familiar with, echoing up this cavernous stairwell that you're starting to move down. It seems to be coming down from below you and getting slightly louder by the second.
Okay. I'm gonna make my way back up, put the planks back, and remove myself from the tent.
Okay. Give me a stealth check.
Come on, good stealth check. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, quiet as a mouse. You're able to replace the planks back down very quickly. You're able to, even as you're doing so, you start to hear these voices once again coming down from no further than 20 or 30 feet below you as you finish the last plank and find yourself moving out back into the frigid winter air. A little bit of time has passed, not too long, only about 15 or 20 minutes since you departed from the other tent. Is there anything else you want to investigate?
I think I'm gonna go back and report back.
Hey, Throck. How's it going, bud?
Give me a perception check as you're doing so. So as you start moving through, you see people here and there, and you're able to clearly see as you start getting closer to the chief's tent. Several of these villagers are keeping a close and wary eye on the tent itself, as you see Stone Skull and Terra, as well as Mr. Pebbles and a bear standing outside of it, kind of keeping guard. As you quickly look around, making sure nobody's able to see you moving across the ice, you see that same person you saw before, the one with bones rattling on her neck, and the spiritual person of this tribe, moving towards a tent that's kind of off to the side, set away from the rest of them. Not any larger than the others, but it's about 20 feet away from any of the other tents, whereas the rest of them were within 5 to 10 feet of each other.
I'm gonna follow her.
Okay. All right. It's about 50 feet away or so, so it'll take you a few seconds to get over there, but you see her as you're moving, following her, you see her disappear inside the tent.
1 hour.
Make my way inside her tent quietly.
Okay.
So-
Make a stealth check.
So for those just tuning in, Rogar is invisible, and we're investigating the tent, which is the common tent.
You see the woman is inside the
of these
tent as you
ice
move in.
people.
It's much like the one you were just in. You see dimly lit by what appear to be small lanterns, but you don't see anything that's fueling it until you look a little bit closer, and it seems to be some kind of oil is set inside these lanterns, giving it fuel. Dimly illuminated in this kind of somewhat haunting-looking light around the room, shadows dancing around you and such. You see the woman, once again, her back towards you as you quickly move the flap of the tent out of the way and step into the room. She does not notice you.
You seem to be doing anything that might be deemed abnormal.
As you're looking at her, it seems that she's moving around the room. She seems to be clearing some stuff to the side, and she moves over to the back side of the tent. You see a bunch of what appear to be like old furs and such are piled on top of each other, and you see her moving some of these old furs out of the way, dragging them aside. And you see what appear to be poles strung across what appears to be another hole in the ice, and you see what appear to be stairs as you're kind of leaning over her shoulder very carefully, much like you just saw leading down into the ice.
Well, that's all. I'm gonna quietly make my way out and back towards the group.
Okay. So about 30 minutes has passed as the rest of you are holding up guard, talking amongst yourself and such, and everybody inside the tent is greeted by a very quick blast of cold air inside the relative warmth of the tent as you see, or rather feel, Rogar step back into the tent.
Brew some tea.
Have him roll another stealth check.
Oh,
See if we can tell him to come back in.
One of y'all give me a perception check.
Well, I know he's there. I can see my own magic.
Okay.
Hey, Rogar. Here, have some tea. You're just in time. Drink the tea.
You're a little heavy on your left foot.
All of you, actually. All of you come drink some tea.
As I see him come in, I'm not sure how the spell works. Can I allow him to be visible and then make him invisible again without casting it, or what? I just drop it. Can I make him visible to the people of my choice? No.
Yeah, no, you can't pick and choose. You have to drop the spell.
I'll let it drop.
All right. So as Max kind of waves his hand through the air, Jedi mind trick like, you see Rogar standing in the middle of the room, kind of shuddering a bit from the cold. He's now standing before you once again.
I don't know what they're complaining about. Stone Skull's in a loincloth,
like
and
there's
he's perfectly fine.
A gathering place underneath their tents. I saw it looked to be like two tunnels in two of the tents I entered. And I heard voices when I went down one of them, and they were coming towards me, so I quickly left that tent.
What about my cat? Any sign of her?
The cat, what, is that the shaman?
No, she's the tiefling sorceress. That was to send messages, like scouting info.
No sign of her.
You said you went to a second tent. I'm assuming
no
you followed the
idea.
shaman.
Yeah, and there was also an entryway to what seemed to be an underground network of tunnels in her tent.
I think we should seek her out and speak with her.
I think we should go to the tunnels.
She used missive magic to speak to me before we entered this tent and sought our console. We should make a small contingent. I can use more magic to obscure us from view, but I can't take everyone. Would any of you prefer to come with, or should I do it alone?
I'll come with, but all of you really need to drink this tea.
Where are we going? I'm in.
I'm going to actually yell for Tara. Come inside. Bring Stone Skull with you.
Stone Skull. They're going to end the beer drinking party. We have to go in, and they said something about tea.
I don't know what this tea fellow is, but I don't want to be introduced to him.
It's a he. It's Mr. T.
I pity the fool.
I'll go back into the tent with Mr. Pebbles.
And Stone Skull joins.
We'll give you a brief update of what we know now. It looks as if the village is preparing food for, a large event, whether it be a single
It's not
entity,
an event.
multiple
I'm
dragons,
telling
even
you,
if the
it's not
cult
an
is here.
event.
They're preparing food for others. There's
no
a
way.
system of tunnels underneath our feet, at least 2 entrances, and we've been summoned by the shaman. She seems to want to offer information that the chieftain does not. Ignali and I are going to go seek her out, but we need everyone else to stay here and maintain the illusion that nothing's changed. We don't want to tip our hand.
Okay. Don't you go into those tunnels without me.
Agreed.
I promise. We're not
I
going
think
into the
we
tunnels unless we all go together.
We should definitely talk to the shaman and just pay attention to see if she hides the tunnels from us.
Stone Skull looks to Max and says, "Wouldn't it be easier to just sneak her here so we could talk to her?"
I'd much rather her be in somewhere that's more comfortable, where I don't think we'll be interrupted. Comfortable for her.
Okay.
It would do us no good to be mid-conversation and have the chieftain return. And her presence here inside the chieftain's tent with just us would raise concern. There's also no guarantee that she knows how to hide using my magic.
It's true, I guess.
Well, for a short period of time, I can detect magic, so we'll at least know if something's very close. And suddenly they're all muted.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one person that's muted that's important.
Stone Skull, drink this tea.
What is a tea?
It's like water, and it's very cold out. So I just put a little bit of leaves in it and steeped it for a bit. It's not going to taste great, but I really need you to drink it, okay?
Why does he keep trying to get us to drink this tea?
I'm going to look to Max for approval on this.
Watch out lips, watch out gums.
I'm not even sure what he just said, but yes, drink the tea, sir.
Watch out stomach, here it comes.
We were told not to eat or drink anything that was given to us.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
No, that we didn't bring. He brought it.
I don't know where Ignalia got that. Where did you get that, Ignalia?
You trail a constant line of dirt. I don't really think you need to be questioning what anybody's carrying on them.
All right, Stone Skull,
makes everything better.
Take the glass and drink the tea.
Roll a d20 for flavor.
If it's a nat 1. Yeah, it's not a nat 1.
Hey, you don't hate it.
It was okay.
Alright, I'll fill a cup, drink it myself. Fill a cup. Max?
I feel like that should be at disadvantage because I've been
sure.
drinking ale all night. Or at least since we got to the tent.
Doesn't taste as good as your Guinness.
Few things in life do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll pour one more cup of tea and say, Tara, do you want to warm up a little bit?
Sure. Is that what this tea does?
That is generally what one drinks tea for, dear.
I'll take a cup and drink it. But I'm going to drink it just like a beer because she doesn't understand tea.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
pretty much.
I accept her as she is. Alright, and when everyone's finally done with that, I put away the drinking set of poison resistance.
Figured that's where you're going with it, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
I have a ring of poison resist.
Yeah, you were the last one to drink, and it only covers 4 people, so you weren't going to get the effects anyway. I normally DM, motherfucker.
All right.
Alright,
You all
eat all the
recognize
shit
this.
you want in the village.
You all recognize it except for Max. Max has no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Wasn't he with us when I got that?
No, we got.
wait, he might have been.
Nope.
Actually,
No, didn't we get that in the?
no, y'all got it from
the
the
holders?
guest room.
Oh,
No, the drinking
Oh.
set's like the oldest magic item I have.
Was it?
I
That was-
thought we got that at the
That was from the room of the specters and shit.
Didarius's thing.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it was. Max won't know about it because his character was there, but Willie was not here that session.
Oh,
That
okay.
was the session that he departed.
Gotcha.
Well,
So-
regardless, I gave them all resistance and didn't tell them.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
Some of you were familiar. You all recognize
Fine.
the T set, and you weren't quite sure what it does, but you trusted Ignalia. So
Sure.
you all have
Yeah, that was trust, all right.
drink this. Okay. All right. So you all have resistance to poison now. All right. So as you're all sitting around, talking about what you wanted to do, a little over an hour has passed. Does anybody want to go out and do anything, or are you just waiting at this point?
I'm gonna go back outside because I'd like to keep my eyes on the supply of food that they have
Okay.
and see if it's moving.
I'll go up there with him.
I'm waiting for Max so we can go explore.
Yeah, that's a level 3. And
this is
I am
amusing.
going to, yeah, we're gonna cast invisibility on the two of us.
Okay. So as this is going on, Stone Skull and Tara. Tara, you feel somebody moving towards the tent. Stone Skull, you see 2 men holding platters of this appears to be fish or some kind of aquatic beast meat. Starts walking towards you, clearly intending to walk to into the tent.
As they approach, I'm not even gonna get up. I imagine Stone Skull's kind of just sitting just outside the tent, and just gonna raise my great sword, still sheathed because I've kind of unfastened it, and just kind of hold them up and stop them before they enter.
I'm going to also cross my hammer with his greatsword. Just kind of making a barrier.
As you do so, Stone Skull, you're able to see a bit of a wary look on the faces of these men as they kind of look back at each other and then look down towards you both. With that, they kind of shrug and they take the plates of food and set it down on the ground in front of both of you, and then they kind of shrug and just walk off.
Gonna wave to them and say, "Thanks for the food." And I'm gonna look at Tara and say, "So is it poisoned?"
How would I know? We should probably not let the bear eat that, though.
Yeah.
Bear's already sniffing the food.
No.
I'm going to send Mr. Pebbles over there to scoop up the food.
No. Bear groans
That's an
pleadingly.
uncanny bear noise.
I'm gonna reach to my pack and pull out a couple of things of rations to start feeding to it.
Okay.
And as he's doing that, I'm going to go hide the food and what little bit of snow or ice I can find behind the tent.
We have
Kinda
so
bury it.
many rations, though.
Okay. Trying to do this out of view of people?
Just bury it inside the tent.
Oh yeah, I'll go inside the tent, bury it.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a lot easier to do.
The floor is the same in here as it is out there.
I mean, you can do it outside if you want to. It's going to need a stealth check to see if you can do it without anybody seeing when you have active guards watching you.
That's a blind girl poking at him, like looking around, like she's looking at it. I wonder if anybody's looking.
Looking off in the wrong direction. All right, so yeah, Terry, you take the food inside. You clearly feel, and you walk around as if nothing's happened, even though two of your comrades are now invisible, but you don't know any difference. Setting the food to the side, kind of putting some stuff over it, walking back outside, I'd assume.
Yeah.
All right. So food has been brought to you, but for whatever reason, y'all decided not to eat it. So what do you want to do?
For whatever reason.
Ignali and I are going to make our way to the shaman's tent.
As they leave, I'm just going to say, bye, Ignalia.
Keep it
Bye,
down.
Max. What?
Illusion that nothing's changing.
Then nothing has changed.
I'm gonna look over at Tara and say, they're invisible.
I know, I can't see them.
My armor is leaving like massive craters in the snow with everywhere I step.
Just gotta crunch, crunch, crunch. What the hell is making that noise? All
You
right.
said it was windswept. It's hard to see.
I'm a
Yeah.
spooky ghost.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Like I said, it's almost as if this place, the entire top of the plateau is just constantly in a minor snowstorm.
The demon is close.
All right. So y'all are making your way towards the tent that Rogar described to you.
Yep.
Okay. So you clearly say after his description, one tent kind of set off aside from the others, about 20 or so feet away from the others. Off to the side, you see some bones and such hanging from the construction of it off to the side, clearly marking this one as probably kind of a special one that you assume belongs to the shaman of this tribe.
Yeah, I will, kind of check the surrounding area, make sure it's not being actively watched, or no one's gonna really notice the door open too fast. And then, open and put my arm around Ignalia to lead her in and then come in behind.
Okay.
Yes.
So you
I can see you, but you can't see me.
As we're doing that, I'm gonna cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
Well, you can't with the invisibility on.
Why?
if you cast a
Because
spell,
you cast a spell, invisibility drops.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't he the one concentrating?
I know, but it's a caveat to the spell. If you do any action while you're invisible, the invisibility ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the spell ends for a target.
Oh,
that
you're right,
attacks
you're
or
right.
casts a spell.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Greater Invis.
Yeah, man, I wish.
I wish. Okay,
What
fine.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm
so,
invisible. Do something about it. Like, ugh.
Can't do anything. So yeah, Max, you're able to clearly see, still seeing 4 or 5 men watching the tent that you just exited from, keeping an eye on it, but they don't seem to see you at all. Obviously, because you're invisible. As you move forward, getting ready to open the flap, you see nobody's really paying much or any attention really to this tent. Cursory glances every once in a while, but not anything that would lead you to believe it's being watched. So you quickly move the tent flap away and move into the room. You both clearly see the shaman woman that you met earlier sitting cross-legged on a pile of some of the old furs inside her chamber, turned towards the door, and she kind of raises her eyes up, looking at, clearly seeing the tent flap open, and then close again. And she looks down at the ground, and you follow her eyes, and you see the impressions of your feet on the ground. And she kind of tilts her head and then looks kind of searchingly in front of her.
I'll let, as she's kind of looking, I see her looking up and down, noticing the same thing, the spell, and just drop this spell and reveal the two of us.
So as both of you, kind of a brief shimmering around your forms as you appear back to the naked eye, she kind of nods and looks towards you, and then being able to see you, she looks directly at you, Max, and you feel that probing once again in your head.
I will shut that down this time.
Okay.
Just keep it at bay and say, I would prefer to speak without you in my head.
With that, she tilts her head to the side and thinks for a moment. She nods slowly and says, in a bit of a more feminine voice than you expected from this kind of grisly, caricatured person. She says, "Not good at this tongue, but
how about
we'll
Draconic?
Try." With that, she thinks, and she says the word draconic in Draconic, and kind of questioningly.
Do you know this? Is this easier for you?
With that, she nods again. She begins to speak somewhat, falteringly. It's still not something that she's naturally. Yeah, it's not natural for her to be speaking this, but she obviously understands the language. She says, "Yes, I know this tongue, unfortunately."
Unfortunately.
Why? Why did you beckon us here?
Wow. Unfortunately,
with that, she kind of peers around you, making sure the tent flap is shut. And then she leans back a bit. She says, "My people scared. My people not want to anger the White Death. And she thinks for a second, kind of concentrating, and she kind of motions up, and you see her hand kind of motioning to some of the bones hanging from the ceiling inside this room. She says, I prayed for..." And she thinks again. She says the word heroes in Draconic, but she kind of says that's not exactly what she was looking for, but someone to save us. And she looks up at you and says, "Perhaps you."
Save you from what?
Insight check.
What are you inciting?
Her. I want to see if she's lying.
She seems to be telling the truth.
All right.
You speak Draconic, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, she seems to be telling the truth.
Does it not at least speak Draconic? Oh, I hope so.
I don't speak it. I spit it, son.
So she continues on.
I was born to this.
She says, I always forget this fucker's name. There we go. She says, "The old White Death, Arathator, he compels us to serve."
Through fear and violence.
With that, she nods a little more quickly this time.
Nice.
She kind of points off back into the distance, and you notice that she's pointing back towards the stairwell that you originally came up to the plateau from. She says, 3 of my people are in that wall, as a warning to not only, she kind of points to you, to guests such as yourselves, but also, and she points back to herself, to us, to not betray him.
Where is he?
With that, she leans back and she starts reaching behind her, and as she does so, you see some of the old furs beside her. She moves out of the side, and you clearly see a hole in the ground, or in the ice, and she points down into it. Down there.
So, out of character. Now I see why they reacted so strongly. I imagine they're like, "Did you kill him for real? Like, you just stroll in here like, yeah, no, we took care of him. He's dead." Sorry. He's in the inside the ice.
With that, she nods. She says, "There are chambers down below." And she kind of moves her hands out, kind of depicting great size, large chambers, many levels.
Oh, that's not.
She thinks for a moment. It's difficult to travel. There are others like us, and she shakes her head. Not ice hunters, but slaves to the White Death down there. But not all are
That's a
slaves
strange bug.
completely. Some serve of their own free will.
Strange bug.
Well, what of our friend?
With that,
She
she
would've-
tilts her head, says, "Friend," she thinks, says the word again, "McCath." Not to know if her, but there is Horned Lady down below.
Does she have a tail?
With that, she nods. Tail, and she kind of, moves her hand across her face, like depicting. She says, "Red skin."
I would bet there aren't many other tieflings out here. And this horn, the drac horn. Do you know of this?
With that, she thinks, and she shakes her head. Not know of Drakhorn.
Sorry about that, chat.
I do not mean to alarm you. We are here to end a calling of dragons. This White Death is a problem for you, is putting it lightly. But there are more to come if we do not kill him soon. We must find this horn. Are there other people here, other ice hunters, that might know of this?
With that, she thinks and then shakes her head. She says, kind of pointing back to herself again, "Ice hunters, slaves." She kind of motions out, "Bring food for White Death. Serve." And she kind of shrugs. She thinks, I'm trying to think of a simpler way to put this.
No, I get it. I was just trying to kind of push the envelope.
She's basically saying they're not privy to such knowledge. They
don't know anything. They're cut off. They work and they feed the dragon, and that's it.
Yep.
They're
try to
granted
survive.
permission to live.
Yes, that is definitely the gist you were getting from her.
Right. With that, we looked around and mentioned the other tent with the other hole. Is that how things move? Is this entrance less guarded?
With that, she points at the entrance from her tent. She says, "Special." And she kind of points at the entrance. "Special, not often used." And she points back across, obviously depicting the large tent that Rogar was able to investigate. She says, "Meeting hall, used for delivering food. Often traveled."
We need to prepare. How I must get my tribe here and through this door unseen. Can you help with that?
With that, she thinks for a moment and she looks back up at you, and you see a look of, everything she's been saying up to this point. She's looked a little nervous, like she's giving information, and it frightens her a bit. But you see a big, a look of resolve crossing her face as she starts to stand up, and she walks over to you and looks, obviously having to look up. She's only about 5.5 feet tall, maybe. She looks up at you,
Yes.
sheer determination in her face. She says, "You kill Aritator."
We kill.
With that, she, with a very curt nod, nods once. She says, "You kill, I distract."
Before sunrise, and kind of point up into the sky. We head down. We kill.
With that, she nods. She says, "Wait for dark." And she looks again, kind of searching. "Don't eat anything. Wait for dark, then come." She kind of points back down at the ground at her feet. "Come here at signal."
And just kind of cock my head and repeat the word signal.
"You know signal."
I will, with that, I'll kind of cock a bit of a smile. I will listen.
With that, she nods. She says, she thinks for a moment. You see her moving around, and she grabs a couple of the old furs and puts them up and drapes her across herself, to give her a little more protection. She says, "Wait." And she thinks for a second and holds up 2 minutes. Then go back.
I smile again instead of just cocking at a half of the side of my mouth at a full-on grin, and do a whistle, and we'll both vanish again.
And with that, you see her kind of leaning her head back and tilting it to the side, and not necessarily defeated, but a little bit, chagrined. She shrugs, and the cloaks kind of far off, and she kind of waves her hand. "Go. Wait for signal."
Say, be safe, and open the flap, and step out into the cold, heading back to the chieftain's tent.
All right. So as you find yourself moving back across, once again, nobody seeming the wiser to you two traveling and meeting with what she would have told you. At least her title is the Bone Carver of this tribe. Their spiritual leader in a capacity. You find yourself heading back to the Bone Carver. Back to the other tent, not being seen by anybody. You find yourself back inside the chieftain's tent. Rogar kind of just calmly waiting. The other two, aside from Terra clearly able to feel your presence as you move forward. But you find yourself not discovered as you make your way back in the tent. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick 5 minutes break.
Yay!
Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga,
See?
ooga chaka.
At least somebody got it.
You know that's what I was quoting when I said it, right?
Yes, and that's what I responded, and then you said the wrong one after.
I know, because I wanted to infuriate you.
That definitely worked.
Suck it. Remember, barbarians are weak to psychic damage.
Stop this madness.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right, and I will be right back as well. We'll take a short 5-minute break. When we come back, we're about to start us a dungeon crawl. Get excited. I'll be right back, guys.
I'm gonna leave here in a minute.
Take 4 or 5 of those stim
watched
packs and just rubber band them together and slap them right in my face.
All right, we are
I
back.
haven't watched
that
it
nuclear
on
colony.
it.
Sorry about that. Eating some snacks here.
It's open world.
We are.
It's instant. It's almost like Destiny
We're
lobbies.
getting ready
where
to
you have,
jump
like,
into
20 or
this
30 people
dungeon
or something
crawl
like that in each lobby.
on Fallout.
Mhm.
It is 24 people max to a server,
There you go. 24.
groups of 4. So it'll be awesome.
I'll run around telling people I need them to help me with my settlement.
Maybe I will pick it up.
Hey guys, what's up? There's another settlement in trouble. God damn it!
Damn it!
How to get griefed 101. Turn into that guy.
Yeah, but I mean, who's really winning that troll fest?
If you end up getting killed, like, ultimately you won that, I guess. Zornbeck?
You see chat? His dog killed a mouse outside. He said start without him. He's gotta clean it up.
What does he need to clean up?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
It's a womp rat.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
Dog disemboweled it.
Facebook, just a forewarning. Like, obviously, Zorn's not here, and he's the one that did it, but don't use Facebook to get a hold of me. Use Discord or the game, because I have Facebook closed while I'm playing. Because the ding of all the chats drives me nuts.
Fair enough.
My own fault for having like 27 chats, but still. Alrighty, so you have found Ignalia and Maximilian have made their way back to the tent. You still have about an hour or so. You did get there, a little after midday, and some time has passed with your investigations and speaking with the tribe members and such. You have an hour or two until darkness sets in. Is there anything that you guys want to do?
Personally, I think we should rest up early and try to make our way out, before they might even expect us to. Start investigating while we can.
I just think we need to be on the same page before we step forward, set off. Stone Skull, unfortunately, I don't think we can bring your bear along with us. I don't think there's a way that, without kicking in the front door, that we're going to be able to fit him into the chamber, and there's no real guarantee he's going to be able to fit in the chambers beyond.
So what I'm hearing is we kick in the front door.
To be fair, Arator must have a way of getting in and out of those caves as well.
Well, you know that hole wasn't small. The hole that you saw leading down, it wasn't like 5 foot wide. It was pretty big.
Oh, okay. I thought it was little, like she had just a blanket over it.
No, she had like literal 10-foot poles strung across the ground that the furs were sitting on top of to cover the hole.
So that was basically a pit trap.
I mean, kinda, I guess. Could be described as at least a 10-foot wide pit trap, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, if there's room enough, then scratch that conversation. The next part to that was sticking together. There's multiple chambers, unknown enemies, and not all of them are slaves, like these ice hunters. There are others who are volunteers. I imagine that will be easy enough to depict. One should run away from us and one's going to run toward us. But sticking in a tight group, working together, knowing that alarm could be raised at any moment, and then confrontation with the dragon will be on its terms and not ours. Also prepare yourselves for, combat. Nothing but. There's no, once we start and get through the ice hunters, no prisoners, no quarter. The dragon's our target. Hi, Steve. Is Wrath still here?
Wrath has been chilling in here with Rogar, and as you're all talking about your plans and everything, he kind of looks at you and says, "So I'm thinking you will not be needing my services going forward if you plan on doing whatever it is you do." With that, he starts to stand up. He says, "I think I will make my way out of here while I can. I think I can convince them to let me go back to the ship."
No need. I'll stand. Are you ready to go now?
That he shrugs. You see him kind of picking up his heavy jacket that he had taken off with the room being, no fires or anything, but just the, sealed room and made it somewhat warmer in there. He picks it up and puts it on. He says, "I'm ready whenever."
With a low whistle, I will make him vanish as well. And I'll tell him, "You have an hour. This will last 1 hour. Make your way aboard. Tell the captain to disembark and find safe harbor somewhere not too far away. I will come seek him out when we're ready to leave. I don't know what may happen here, but I do think you should get some distance."
With that, he nods, and then he kind of catches himself and looks down at his now invisible hands and says out loud, "Very well. I will take care of it." Kind of mumbles, "This is weird." With that, though, he steps around you, kind of tiptoeing, and pauses at the door and kind of turns around to the rest of you and, kind of mumbles out, just loud enough for all of you to hear, "Best of luck to you." And with that,
hopefully we won't need luck.
Make some room in the hold for dragon hide.
the soft chuckle, he exits out of the tent and disappears into the distance.
Dragon horde, hide. I mean,
He
if
better.
we're frozen, yeah.
Yeah, he better. I want to make some new blankets.
Okay.
I need a fine attire set. I got the scales picked out. White looks good on the gold skin.
Like a tux, or nice lord's robe, perhaps.
Oh, definitely something form fitting.
Spandex, yes.
Right. This is made out of 100% dragon gizzard, son. Are you kidding me? It's moisture wicking. Yeah. So, resting is in order for sure.
Okay, well, you have a couple hours at the very least, at least until dark. You were kind of
I want a long rest.
You were kind of told that there would be a signal at some time, sometime during the nights. How long that may be, you're not too sure. 2 hours until nightfall. How long it is until the bone carver sets up the distraction that she promised, didn't really discuss.
She said nigh on 9 hours, I think is what she said, it very clearly. With a great sense of time. Pretty sure.
Make a persuasion check.
Alright. I get advantage because of my shield.
All right. You beat a D100. Okay, that's what she said.
Yes. So everybody rest knowing that you'll have plenty of time.
You will have 9 hours specifically from now.
Right. So, long rest.
Anybody wanting to do anything? 9 hours. A few minutes later.
Can I? Oh, I'm just not messing with it. I'm running out of stuff. I need more spots on my character sheet because I got a lot of abilities and I'm trying to track them all. It's just a lot.
I mean,
it's not bad. It's a bit.
Are you saying that you have too many things? Because we can fix that.
I am not saying that. I didn't even allude to that. You're just putting words in my mouth now.
Putting words in my mouth, and now you'll say putting words in yours. You know you can collapse those, right?
What?
Your abilities on the core screen.
Oh yeah, no. I put them there on purpose. That's my like quick reference.
Right, I understand that, but I like instead of having to scroll infinitely down, you can click on
I have
them
them
and
open like that on purpose.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that way I just keep them open.
10 seconds later. All right. So anything that anybody wants to do during your long rest, you all just taking it easy, keeping up guards and stuff, just to make sure you're safe in this obviously somewhat hostile place.
Yep. And that's. I was gonna say keep track of the meat, but I don't think it's gonna matter now. So I'm just gonna rest.
All right.
I'm trying to like overfeed the cave bear with rations to make more room in the bag of holding.
He just keeps eating it.
He's good.
I imagine
He's a hungry fella.
I imagine he's sitting on his hind legs while eating it too.
He is. He's just sitting there like a dog would be sitting there, just after like 30 minutes. You're like, this thing doesn't ever get full.
It's just like Stone Skull. I'm partially doing it just because I want the cave bear to have a somewhat nice thought of me.
Just in case of that one point where the DM rolls on the screen and it goes rogue.
Oh yeah. It's too late. I want him fat enough that he can't chase me.
All right, with the now obese bear in the party, it has a -10 to its movement speed.
But it's happy. That's what really matters.
It is fat and happy, that is for sure. It's basically me.
Yes.
If y'all don't have anything, then
Oh snap! I just went. No, you were good to go. I just didn't realize how paladins had spells. Because I was like, wait, how many paladin spells do I know? It's charisma modifier plus half your paladin level rounded down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
that's how many you can prepare. You know them all that are on your list.
Yeah, you know all spells, but you can only prepare X amount.
Yeah, right. I just didn't realize it was that many.
Oh yeah,
at 3-5, like paladins only have like 4 spells they can choose from.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to prepare basically all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, super. I mean, what are you at? You at 20?
It's max 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got a stupid amount of spells that you can have prepared. Now, granted, you've only got X amount of slots, so.
Right. But what level spells can I use?
What's your paladin level?
Yeah, what level
3.
is your paladin? Then you only get first level spells.
So is that like spell slots per level that indicate? Okay, that indicates. There's only 5 paladin levels. Makes sense. Cool. Got it.
Yeah, they're quarter.
They're whatever they are.
Yeah,
you can use a calculator to figure out what your actual spell slots are.
Yeah, you only get so many. I think the multi-class shows you how many, or do you get full? I don't remember.
It depends on what your mix is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We should be able to pull it up somewhere. Where?
So I just have access to first levels. Yeah, first level spells.
Yeah, just paladin. I mean, your bard stuff's still fine, but
yeah.
Okay, so while you're going over that, so you all start the evening waiting for darkness. You know, able to easily tell that darkness seems to set over the land very quickly, with the blinding light reflecting off any kind of light that was above you, very brightly from the white snow and ice around you. But once the sun dissipates, so does the light. You're able to clearly see now some little bits of lamplight coming from the tents. Those of you that are keeping watch as you all do your best to rest. But like I said, about 7 hours or so after dark have passed. All of you awake at this point, knowing that the Bone Carver had promised to make a distraction at some point in the night, and you all lay ready for it. Who's standing guard at the end of the long rest?
Me.
There you go.
All right. So everybody else is inside the tent.
Yep.
All right. Ignalia, give me a perception check. So you remember, and you start hearing a ruckus being raised up from somewhere off to your west, and you remember the sound of it almost immediately. It's the same barking noise that you heard from the sled dogs that had basically announced your presence when you came up the stairs up to this plateau. You hadn't really heard them through your stay here in this village. But now you hear a lot of barking, and the barking is growing louder and louder. And then you see it, just out of the edges of the lamplight around this village, you see a bunch of these dogs running around in circles, jumping around, barking and howling around in the air. You see a couple of them jumping up and kind of bouncing off the sides of one of these tents. One of the tents falls down. You start to see people getting up and moving. You see the guards that all of you have been kind of telling each other that have been watching you nonstop since you entered this tent earlier in the day. Their concentration broken as they look over trying to figure out what the hell is going on, as these dogs are just raising all kinds of hell on the other side of the camp away from you.
I immediately head inside the tent and start saying, "It's time to go. Let's do this." And to punctuate my point, I just firebolt the ground in the middle of everyone. No damage, just, a shock.
Psst, the firebolt hisses on the ice.
And I'll start slapping faces if they don't get up.
Tara's gonna climb on the back of Mr. Pebbles and go outside the tent.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I imagine, he's kind of sitting there waiting with the gear on, just waiting for it to pop off.
All right, are y'all? Take it off. You sitting around? What are you doing?
We're going?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah. It's go time.
Okay.
Let's make our way.
Yep. Rushing out and grabbing the bear and trying to hide him behind me.
Okay.
What a thought.
Where are y'all headed?
To the shaman's tent.
Okay. All right. So with Ignalia and Max, Rogar as well, knowing the location, leading the way, you all start taking off across this village. You're all able to clearly see in the bits of flickering lamplight of the tents that are still standing. You see several tents have been knocked over by these dogs that seem to just be gone batshit crazy on the other side of camp. You all pretty much assume that this was probably the Bone Carver's distraction, knowing that she probably has the ability to speak with animals. And with that, you start taking off across, slinking through the shadows of this very dimly lit area, knowing you have good amount of stealth on your side in the chaos as well as the darkness surrounding you. As you're making your way forward, you see the front of the tent, of the shaman's tent, is kind of tied up a little bit, so where it's easy for you to slip inside without having to move anything around. As you make your way towards it, slipping inside, you see nobody lies inside the tent, and it's open completely. But you do see the hole is clearly still uncovered.
Once, I'll usher everyone in and start pushing Stone Skull and the bear forward. Start moving down. This is an unused hatch or unused entrance, or not as used. Find a spot, get settled, and we'll all, start moving forward when we're all below ground.
Okay. So yeah, I just kind of follow his orders and get the bear down and into position here.
All right. So you're all going to start taking off down the stairs. You do clearly see these steps, kind of cut out in the ice in a very large spiral staircase.
Yeah.
All right. So you all start making your way down. you start stepping down, and you realize that everything around you is made of ice. You find yourself descending down these steps, carved out of the ice, going around in this, like I said, very spiral staircase, moving around in circles as you go further and further down. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, and you feel that the ground, and you can see it too in the dim light around you, that the ground is very frosted over, obviously from nobody traveling up and down this. As all of you get down to about 40 feet or so, I need acrobatics checks from everyone.
Acrobatics, you say?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
You want one for the bear, or is he big enough to not have to do this?
He can do it with advantage. Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stone's calling his bear like a Russian circus while the rest of us floundering.
We'll do a dex for the golem.
Okay. All right.
Bye, Stone Skull. It was nice knowing you.
Stone Skull and the bear are able to keep their footing, slipping just momentarily, but then they see the group of you. Everybody else loses their footing and begins careening down the staircase. You start falling, and you're grabbing, all of you trying to grab hold of something, but the ice is just completely slick as you tumble down 60 feet. You all take 19 points of bludgeoning damage as you careen 60 feet down these stairs, bouncing off the walls and off of each other, before finally coming to a rest at the bottom of this stairwell.
As the bear and Stone Skull finally make their way down to the bottom of the stairs, he's gonna kind of look and see if anybody is actually hurt, and then gonna kind of chuckle at them.
Yeah, they're all sprawled out at the bottom of the stairs here and laying there, kind of groaning in a bit of pain.
By actually hurt, we're all like quarter dead now.
I'm hurt. Wow. I don't know. The screen is
I don't see
huge, huh?
anything. Oh, there we go.
Holy.
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
I'll help you
we're
out
off
with
to the
that.
right.
There you go.
I, without getting up from my back, pull out a potion of healing and chuck it on the ground.
Starting to see a theme here, Ignalia.
I'm going to do the same.
Listen, just don't ask questions and drink when I tell you to.
I feel like we were steamrolled into that trap.
No,
I would have proceeded more cautiously.
I am going to
I say
Yeah,
meh, but I'm the
indeed.
only one that saved.
I lay on hands.
This is starting out well for y'all. All right, so you find yourself at the bottom.
I
of
am
this
glad I've
chamber.
got a bonus ability.
So
Who
you
else is
see-
hurt? Sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. It's me and who else?
I think everybody's healed up now, or at
No,
least a little bit.
no, I'm at 61 because potion of healing.
Out of how much?
75.
This map is huge, by the way, just in case y'all didn't get
He
it.
hits you with that sweet hex or alphanumeric. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
really,
you
don't,
like that?
don't worry about it. I bought a
No?
bunch of these. It's okay.
Oh, okay. You just gotta
Oh.
pound them down.
Yeah, Zorn emptied the store.
Yeah, pretty much
Oh,
all that
nice.
she had.
That works.
And we'll do one more.
Freaking Amelia got cleaned out.
That will do it. Where we go? It only took 3.
And now that we're at the bottom of the stairwell here, I'm gonna go ahead and just hop on the back of the bear.
Okay. So yeah, as you all get to the bottom, you see the real reason, Stone Skull and the bear are able to clearly see the stairwell kind of ends at the ceiling of this room, and everybody else kind of flooded out and fell straight to the ground. Stone Skull, you're able to take your time jumping down the 10 feet or so that was left between the ceiling and the ground at this kind of tunnel, or this tube, I guess you'd say, kind of descending in the middle of this room. You see the rest of the ceilings around you were pretty high, about 25 feet or so. As you look around, you see everything around you. is just covered in ice. You are in the middle of this glacier. The ground you see down to your southwest kind of slopes off a bit. And you should not have global illumination in here. There we go. Because it's nighttime.
I liked it better that way because I could actually see.
How's everyone doing?
I'm blind.
It hurts, and I can't see much.
I cast light on Tara's face.
Okay.
That's terrifying.
Oh no, I can't edit the token. What the
Imagine
shit?
it now looks like one of those crazy baby doll heads with a light on the inside of it. It's like turning
Yes.
around, like, what's that? Oh, Tara, fix your skull.
I can put it on her tongue, so it's only when she opens her mouth.
And
No.
we're gone.
Yeah,
Right.
one second. I'm fucking with shit.
I was imagining more of a third eye thing on her forehead.
I can't edit tokens all of a sudden. Thanks, Roll20. Shit. Alright, refreshing. Da-da-da-da. Technical difficulties, please hold. Our agents are currently busy as we try to...
Was I the
reboot
only one
server.
that saw the Imagine the Fallout? Please wait.
Scroll. all the way
Please
over
stand
here.
by.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, there it goes. Jesus, I was about to say, really? Alright, what's light give you?
Let me find out.
20 foot bright and then another 20 dim. So up,
Correct.
So do 40 and then dim at 20.
Oh, yep, you're right. You right. Boop. There you go.
Hey,
This
as
light
a
just-
blind girl, I benefit from this. I like it.
So the
Yeah, right.
shining, kind of brilliant white light shines off of Tara's forehead, illuminating the cavern amongst you.
What did you do to me?
Nothing. You're radiant, dear. What is this?
That is the hole.
That's where you drop
Ah.
off.
That's where y'all just fell out of.
And I can see it's dotted with our blood.
Mm-hmm. And your shame.
I
Oh,
set up
shame. There's
and
a
painted
shame
like
spot.
a big
No.
target.
Mostly shame.
I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
My shame went away with the empty bottles of healing.
All right, so
We just collectively drank like 8 healing potions.
you did. You haven't gotten to one piece of combat yet.
I have 7 more regular ones.
Yeah. I have
We just
6
want to
and
eat.
what is it? Ketom's ointment.
We
Oh, I
fell
have-
off of essentially a 5-story building. Like, yeah, that hurts. It's not fun.
Mr. Pebbles had resistance, so he was like,
Ow. Didn't feel good. All right. So yeah, you find yourself in this chamber. It seems to be pretty empty. You do see what appear to be a dozen baskets woven from maybe leather strips or and walrus ribs stacked in the north corner. And as you kind of look
Slow
at them
down,
very
dude.
briefly,
Let him fucking
took it-
describe the last room before you run out of it.
I went to
you
the
look at
hallway for guard duty. Calm down.
To the
uh,
light.
you see that these baskets contain like frozen fish and a few bundles of some kind of rotting meat inside of it as well, but nothing really of worth inside this room. What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's. She said that Bone Carver said that this was a less used passageway, but I don't know when it's going to get busy. So just stay on your toes.
Okay, so you see a chamber lying out beyond the room that you're in. As you kind of glance around, especially with the light, you see that the ice is definitely not all flat here. You see off to the northwest, it seems to dip down, descending in feet, and out of sight.
Well, which way do we go?
Didn't we always decide right?
I think we always decided right.
Alright, so right it is.
Alright, lead the way, light bearer.
That you should have put the light on the bear, and that would have been better.
It probably would have been better.
Bear-ter?
No, light bearer.
Fine, I put the light on the fucking bear.
But the bear already has vision. He doesn't need a light.
He's good. We're all good.
We're good.
You clearly are able to tell the ice in front of you dips, for those of you can see, and Tara, who can feel it, tells that it's a sloping of ice leading down below.
Huh.
Rogar, why don't you take point, stay at the edge of the light. Let me know if you see anything.
I'll do my best.
All right. Rogar, as you step out, you feel your feet beginning to move, and you're able to naturally balance yourself, but you feel yourself definitely sliding down this ramp here from the almost frictionless ice beneath your feet. All of you, still wearing snowshoes and things of that nature, doing nothing for you on this solid ice. Rogar, you slide to about there before you come to a stop.
How extreme is the grade?
He's about 10 feet or so below you now. It's not super extreme. You saw that he was able to easily slide down it. It's going to be hard to control yourself without something to help out with that. But
Like
you'll
a
be able to
shield,
easily keep
maybe?
your footing. Shield be difficult and quite noisy. If somebody had a climber's kit or something, that would probably help you out a lot.
A climber's kit?
Too steep, huh?
Oh, okay.
Very slippery.
How high is the ceiling here?
It is about 20 feet above your head.
I will just go aloft then.
Okay.
I'll just keep about 10 feet off the ground.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pull out 2 daggers and go down basically on my back, using them to try to slow it.
Okay.
Tara is going to cast Earth Bolt twice and kind of mold it so that they're flat. And then she's going to use some rope to affix them to her feet and walk down.
Give me a... What do I want for that, to see if you can pull that off?
Totally do it.
Give me a performance check. Let's do that. Okay, yeah. So instead of making it completely flat, you feel that you need something to grip. So you mold this earth in your hands to have some like spikes on the bottom of it, kind of like cleats would have. And that helps you grip onto the flooring as you begin to walk down it. You find yourself easily able to walk down it and not slide.
Oh, that's probably more than... How far does that go?
How far does what go?
The ramp thing here.
It goes from there about 35 feet.
Oh.
In a
I
ramp,
coulda
but it's only
just-
descending like 10 feet.
I could have just dropped a piton in the ground and we could have tied a rope to it and been fine.
Yeah, good.
But, yeah.
For all you land mammals.
It's not dangerous. It's
Yeah.
just really hard to not slide, essentially.
Okay, yeah. So then I'll just slowly walk the bear down as people move out of the way so they don't get
Yes,
trampled over
yes.
Bear sliding down the hill.
And I am just going to have Mr. Pebbles come sliding down behind on his belly.
Okay. Mr. Pebble, the ski sled. So as you all start finding your way down at the bottom of this hill, sliding to a stop, a few of you making a little bit of noise, the clinking of daggers off the ice and such from Ignalia. But you make your way down to the bottom, regaining your footing, and start looking around. You see the pathway continues off to the west with another incline over here to the west, leading back up, and you see a chamber, or at least another pathway leading off to the north here.
Well, that's right.
As the light source, I say go right. And I
Alright.
am proceeding cautiously. Because I
Keep your head on the wall, right?
So as you start moving forward into this room, you see that the lower you get, you start to see what appears to be, this misty fog is hanging in the air. It's not enough to really block your vision, but it does shorten it down a little bit. You can only see about 45 feet or so accurately, seeing things in the distance. So just so y'all can see that, you can see out to around there-ish or so before the mist becomes too heavy for you to see what's on the other side.
I'm still going to proceed cautiously.
Okay. As you start to move forward, Tara doesn't see anything because Tara's blind.
How does I'm sorry if you said it. Does the ceiling, does it have a vault to it?
This room is much the same. Much the same. 20 feet tall.
Okay. I'm going to. Give me clarification. Like, where would you say I could be off the ground? Like 10 feet off the ground, maybe?
Yeah, I mean you could be 10 feet with 10 feet of overhead above you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just staying just off the ground.
Okay. So as you all begin to move forward,
Oh no!
you start to see what appears to be a large figure standing directly to your north. It looks, very, very tall and very hulking. You see what appear to be two arms raised, kind of pushed out from its side, not moving.
So I think I must have lagged or something. I didn't hear what has arms sticking out and moving.
So this whole chamber is like covered in a fog. It doesn't really obscure your vision, but it does make it harder to see out to the the extremes of your vision. With the light around you emanating off, you start to see what appears to be a large figure, humanoid in stature and sizing and such, or not sizing, but humanoid in its nature. However, very, very large, directly to your north.
Tara, do you feel that?
I assume I do.
You feel something, but whatever it is utterly still.
Yeah, it's not moving. What is it?
I don't know. Let's take a closer look.
Y'all know you can move out in front of me in the light. I don't have to be the guy who runs into this.
No, I'm imagining I'm right above you.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna put my token on top of you, so.
As you all start to move closer, you can start focusing in on this large figure. You see what it looks like. It looks like a giant, pale blue skin. Very hard to make out, solid features, but you see pale blue skin and what appears to be a white beard across its face. It appears to be standing perfectly still.
Is that our friend from the castle? It feels like him.
Hrothgar. What are my notes?
Do they fit in a 20-foot tall room?
Yeah. They're like 15 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Some reason I was always thinking they were like taller.
gonna whisper over to Max and say, "Do you remember that phrase that we had to say that time at the castle?"
Hail.
Legoscus.
Legoscus.
Saying that, or
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna, because I still can't see it. Like in vision. Just give me a touch on the screens, like here. I'm guessing.
So as you move closer, Max, you're able to now see a little bit more clearly. You see that it is indeed what appears to be a frost giant standing perfectly still before you, but this frost giant is dead and frozen in place. You see torn armor across its chest and what appear to be giant claw wounds in its pale blue flesh. You start to look around you and you see more of these somewhat cryptic statues frozen in the ice. You start looking around, you see more giants. You see a total of what appear to be 8 frost giants. One of them with this red skin showing through the ice as a fire giant. And you see another one with almost pearlescent white skin as a cloud giant. All frozen, all dead.
Trophies.
What are they?
They're dead giants of all races. It seems the White Death has a particular dislike of giant kin and is keeping collection.
Yeah, I think Legoscus said something about dragons and giants not liking each other. I don't know. He talks a lot.
Giants used to be the slaves of dragons.
Well, if they're all dead, I guess there's nothing to do here. Want to keep going?
Let's make a quick sweep of the room and make sure there's nothing to gain from this.
Havoc, I'll pull out my wand of secrets and wave it around.
Okay.
It's the first time I use it, so I imagine I'm just kind of swinging it and maybe even holding it backwards.
Okay. You don't detect anything. Everybody give me perception checks, though.
She's holding it backwards, isn't she?
What is this relying on?
A little bit of everything.
I mean, okay. He'll... Yeah, he didn't notice anything.
All of you except the bear, who's just kind of looking over at the giants with a tilted interest. The rest of you hear kind of scraping over to your west, and as the fog kind of wisps around, you see 3 small forms kind of slinking through the fog, obviously attempting to slip past you.
Kobolds! Yay, kobolds!
So sorry, I was muted. You said there were 3 figures that we noticed slinking, trying to slink past us?
Mm-hmm. They're heading from north to south, trying to slip through the fog.
I'm going to turn and just say, halt.
I'm going to prepare a firebolt if any of them move.
Yeah. Oh.
Who's
as
there?
you say,
I'll put the wand away.
as you say halt, they all freeze in place and look over in your direction. The one kind of most of the south hisses and immediately bolts to the south.
Oh, you getting firebolted?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
Nope.
You miss. It takes off running.
Hold on. Oh, whoa. Oh, it's gone? For
Do you
real?
want the-
Are you saying?
you want the
Uh,
Maybe
D100?
it's been stacked.
No. 35, 40, 45, 50. All right, that's his movement. What do you want to do?
Turning the
Are we
bear.
doing initiative? Because I want to move forward where they're within range, or where they're within 60 feet, and make them stop.
Okay. Everybody roll for initiative then.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, why don't I have the initiative counter?
So sad.
Damn it. I need that. 1 second. Initiative.
I'm not saying
Macro,
it because
20.
What?
God damn it.
if I do,
Max.
It re-rolled your initiative.
my Amazon box will start
Yeah,
talking
but
to me.
it's not smart enough to change the damn color.
Notice how I'm being very careful not to actually say her
Yeah,
name.
right.
Hey, Zorn, look at that. The moon's aligned.
Moons and such.
Crap. I don't remember the macro. I have this in a couple of my games. 1 second. I thought I added it to all the games, but I guess I skipped over this one. That sucks. Come on. Load. Oh my god, roll 20, please. Did I not add it to the... Yeah, I did. There we go. Oh, it was select NPC initiative. Gotcha. Okay. Alrighty, so... these two initiative. This one initiative. Okay.
Come on, let's go. I want to fight things. I want to make these poor little kobolds die. Because they're going to go and tell the dragon, and then we're going to be fighting a dragon a little sooner than they think we're ready for.
That's a lot more numbers than we can see.
Alrighty. Okay. This is fine. Alrighty. And sort. Okay. You hear more flickering movement as... We're just gonna go ahead and reveal them all.
They're everywhere.
This one takes off running as well.
Does he run by the bear? The bear's hungry.
It's just ate so much.
That bear fat.
260. He gets about there, running obviously towards the door. This guy gonna take off running as well. 55, 60. Jesus.
You guys remember when kobolds wanted a piece?
Those were the days.
Oh,
All right,
they're running back towards the way we came in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're running out of this room right now. So, 3 of them take off past you, Max, and you're able to react now.
Fly speed of 15 feet, right? Not very quick.
Yeah, only half your movement.
And I am going to shout, halt, again. But this time it's going to be laced with magic.
Echo.
Cast it at 2nd level.
2nd level? Okay.
I'm going to shout in Draconic. I said halt.
Who are you targeting?
The 2 kobolds within sight.
I don't know which ones those are, so...
Those 2?
The 2 down there at the doorway?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
This guy still hasn't moved. It's...
Yeah, there's 2 there,
Those.
and then there's 1 here as well that was
Yeah.
inside. So, all right, so the 2 down south then.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Kobold.
Vano, stop. Bad things are gonna happen.
Wisdom saves.
Unfortunately
Right.
for them.
Correct.
16 and 7. What's your DC?
17.
All right, they both fail, and it looks like they're going to stop moving.
It's not concentration, right?
Nope, just lasts
Nope,
for a round.
cool. Yeah, until the end of their turn. And then I'm going to snap the antagonist around and give a point of bardic inspiration to Terra. And tell Terra, don't let the other one get away.
All right.
Why is my shit? There it goes. Sorry, it wasn't working.
Anything else?
No, that'll end it.
Okay.
Gotta track all my abilities, but roll 20 is struggling.
All right, so Bardic Inspiration coming out as 2 kobolds freeze in place as they're trying to dart out of this back way, or this entrance. Terra, you're up.
Can I fill any more around?
You're able to tell by, your senses, your tremor sense essentially, as well as hearing that there are several around you.
Okay, I'm gonna move this. Well, first, actually, I'm gonna use my bonus action to have Mr. Pebbles go up to this one and attempt to grapple him.
Okay. Make a strength check with him.
Like 20.
Versus 16.
Ooh.
He is now grappling the kobold.
And I'm gonna move up here. Hold on. Yeah, up here and see if I can sense any more.
Mm-hmm.
I do. So I am going to cast Hold Person on the one that I can feel closest to me.
Doesn't it have to be hold monster?
For a
No.
kobold, I thought they were humanoid.
It's
No.
humanoid.
Oh, humanoid. Yeah.
they're
You're right.
humanoid.
You're right.
Am I wrong about that? Are they monster?
No, they're
No, it's
humanoid.
humanoid.
No, it's anything. It's not humanoid.
So 1 humanoid. So Wisdom 12. I think that fails.
But it does fail.
All right. So it is frozen in place.
And that will end my turn.
All right. So taking out 2 of them, not letting them move any longer. With just net icons surrounding all these kobolds. All right. Holding one. Mr. Pebbles holding another. This guy cannot move. End of its turn. It's going to attempt to make another wisdom save. Gonna fail. It's still held. This guy is going to take off running. 30, 50, 60, trying to skirt around everybody. He's going to dash and get there.
Target
This
acquired.
guy is
There's
trying
no
to
running this.
break free. Give me another strength check for Mr. Pebbles.
Sure. Oh.
Oh, he breaks free of the grapple and takes off running. Mr. Pebbles will have an attack of opportunity, though.
Run in front of the bear.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Rex!
Meat paste on the ground now.
The
This is
second one
a-
should be max, so it's 18.
Yeah, so as...
Dude, that's insta kill, right? Double,
yeah.
double.
it's not instant kill for
Nice.
everything, but it's on a kobold, yeah. So as this thing
Yeah.
breaks out of the free, Mr. Pebbles, not really something that feels emotion, but you feel a little annoyance coming off of it as it just shoves the kobold, and as it does so, it wrecks against the wall, bouncing off of it. Blood kind of splattered up against the icy wall next to it.
Damn, Mr. Pebbles.
Yeah, it's
Didn't
dead.
notice.
Freaking
Didn't notice.
Ugh. Just
Okay.
like grab him. It's like he couldn't grab him. Swat. Like, oh. Oh.
just backhanded.
All right, well,
him.
you don't have to worry about grappling that one.
Yeah, he's perma-grappled. All right, Ignalia.
Oh.
Alright, I'll move up as far as I can, and I will take a firebolt at this guy over here who's not restrained.
Oh, I thought we weren't murdering the kobolds, so I would have just murdered them.
Well, I don't know how many of these we're going to be able to stop.
No, they weren't clearly, in my defense, they weren't clearly kobolds. when we started fighting.
Jeez.
No, they are, yeah.
12 hits though.
Gee, thank God.
And it screams in agony as the firebolt takes its life.
Man. I look at my hands again like I used to.
This used to actually be a challenge.
No, it's like the I'm a monster.
We're murdering children. Alright, anything else?
Oh,
Yeah, that's all for me.
Alright. These guys scream like,
Sure you
they're
don't wanna
murdering
smite it?
everybody. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, 55. Stepping around the charred remains of its friend, it takes off running as well. This guy cannot move. He just stands in place, kind of turning back around towards Maximilian. But that will be
and
his
the
turn.
bear and Stone Skull. He's not
Yeah.
turning around really towards me.
He's like, oh dear. All right, Stone
Turning
Skull.
around to the blunder.
Gonna look back to Max and just get approval before I just kill things.
We can't have them warning anyone that we're coming.
Bear comes forward. Bear bites.
Bear hits.
What kind of damage did your bear do?
Let's see.
Bear
8.
eats.
Then continues here. He has 60. Wait, what is it? I think it's 60 foot movement, 40 foot movement. So I'm good there. Stops here and will claw this one.
Oh god. Bear
It's
eats
super
again.
dead.
Just
These guys are getting demolished by our ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, that's gonna be my turn, I guess.
All right. Stone
Gonna
Skull
wait.
just crosses his arms and just looks down at the bear, and it's like, eat. The bear just joyously starts snacking on kobolds. Yeah. Okay.
I imagine in that one, like the claw, like the bear slapped one into the other one, and then just picked them both up in his mouth and just crunched them down. Like, yeah.
I'm standing at the doorway now, so
Hey,
yeah.
get them together. That's one
fine.
mouthful between the two of them.
This guy gets here and he starts, continuing trying to dash around the party, and then he sees the bloody remains beside him, as well as the bear now eating and clawing one of its friends down there, and it starts screeching to a halt, looking around frantically for a way to get out. Not really seeing one. Steve.
So I can't really see. I can see this one, and I think one here.
Mhm.
There's one to
Well, you need
yourself.
to fix that then. You can't see.
Have you tried a torch?
I can see it. I can stab it.
If I can see it, I can stab it. A novel by Steve Rogar. Ooh,
Yep.
can you though?
Nope.
So
But you
if
can't.
you can't see it.
Do you remember I said you could try a torch?
So, yeah.
You can stab a wrench, you can stab a ball.
Yeah, D100, please. Ooh, an 80.
What does that do?
Haven't seen an 80 in a
that's not
while.
anything fun. Yeah, so you run forward and you stab out, in the kind of hazy mist as well as the darkness surrounding you, thinking you're able to clearly see this kobold, but it stops, frightened by the scene around it, right as you stab outwards and you miss, and you find yourself kind of surprised by this. You will be surprised until the end of your next turn. So you can't take reactions or do anything on your next turn, unfortunately.
Okay.
All right, he's dead AF. He's restrained commanded to halt. He doesn't do anything. He stands there, dumbstruck, and begins pissing himself. Max.
I also can't see, but I'm going to fix this. As I'm aloft, I am going to sheath my sword and strike a a torch and throw it on the ground in front of him.
Okay.
I don't know what that will be for his like action economy.
If you were just lighting it, I would give you a bonus action. But if you want to throw it down in front of you and not hold up, like basically one of your hands, then that'll be a full action.
Okay. Yeah, I want to do that. I mean, I can't see.
Okay. I'm just
So,
going to give you
I'm gonna
light.
eliminate everybody. Yeah.
Boop, boop.
Boop. And then could I give Steve a point of inspiration to negate the surprise? I mean, I know that's not strictly what it does, but it'd be kind of cool. I kind of catch him when he stumbles.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We won't set a precedent for that for this instance. I'll allow it.
I like it. Yeah, situational, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you'll give him he's like, oh shit, I messed up. You kind of snap him back to reality as you give him inspiration, and that'll essentially take the inspiration from him. But you
And
are
as you're throwing it down, just yell, "Use your eyes."
Okay. Anything else?
No, that'll be it.
All right. Tara.
Tara is going to move here and cast an Earth Bolt at this one
That hits.
That a heat.
for 18 damage.
You skewer it. It flies across the room, impaled upon the wall to the west.
Then we'll use a sorcerer point and do it again to that one up there.
Okay. Yeah.
For
Uh-huh.
10%.
And another decoration.
And that will drop my con, because that dude's dead.
Okay.
And I will end my turn.
Is that
I'll
a whole-
move closer to Mr. Pebbles and end my turn.
is whole person concentration?
I thought it
No,
would.
it's they cast it, they get it, and then they
Oh.
have to just
No,
fight
it
it
is.
until they're
No,
out, right?
it is concentration. Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It just didn't show it on the spell list for some reason. Weird. Oh well. Yeah, no, it was concentration, so it's gone now. All right, so yeah, Tara begins decorating her new cave of horrors with kobold bodies impaled by earthen spikes.
That's okay. We can do that.
He dead AF.
Yep.
He too dead AF. Igdalia.
mm.
There's two
I-
alive.
Just mention over my shoulder, the cavern of corpses is a nice follow-up. And I am going to move right up here, pull out my sword, and I'm in Draconic, gonna say to him, last chance. Tell your friend to lay down. You're outmatched.
Make an intimidation check.
Oh.
Ugh.
Okay. He hears what you had to say.
Alright. I'm just waiting for him to move.
Okay.
How unfortunate.
All right. He did AF. He too did AF. Stone Skull.
Yeah. I don't want to wait.
Growing impatient, are we?
Mm-hmm. Running by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then another 20 to here. Oh, he can't drop his teeth, thankfully.
He can break them, though. He has a cavity now.
Oh.
Roll a D100 just for giggles.
Poor bear.
You need to find a bear dentist.
24. As your bear's charging forward, it loses its footing and slides up next to it, kind of looking up at this kobold that is actively wetting itself. But the bear's prone.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that means I can't attack because I was using it to attack. So
Yeah, you
that's it.
can't both attack.
Yeah.
All right, so unable to finish off the last kobold, but it is terrified. Yup. Okay, it runs away. Steve and Stone Skull will both have reactions to
Oh,
use.
that's weird. I had a friend that was within 5 feet of it.
You both hit.
Oh.
So Stone Skull brings, as the bear's sliding to a stop, this kobold, wide-eyed and terrified, immediately turns. Stone Skull brings the greatsword around at the same time that a rapier comes out. The rapier skewers this kobold right through the skull, piercing through it, and the greatsword swings underneath it, decapitating it. Rogar, you find that you're now holding the head of a kobold as its body just slides across the floor.
Huh. That was a new one.
I had to flavor it for you.
Man. That was gangster. Like just like lunge right through it. His body's just gone. Ooh. 1, 2.
Steve just felt the wind from the greatsword by him.
Tara is gonna walk up to Mr. Puppets. Good job. You handled yourself well out there. But she's gonna say it all in primordial.
Creeping everybody out. All right, so you find yourself in this room, this hall of giants, except they're all dead. And just to clarify a point that Scott brought up, giants are a little bigger than that. It doesn't say this room is bigger than the others, but we'll say it's about 40 feet tall instead of 20. But otherwise, unless stated, rooms in this place will be 20 feet tall. Mostly just for your reference, Max. You find yourself in this hall of giants, these dead giants up here kind of displayed as token or as trophies. Everybody stopped moving. It seemed like some kobolds are in here, and as you kind of start to investigate and examine the room, you see some tools kind of laying on the ground, some scraping looking tools. It looks like they were maintaining this trophy room before they noticed your presence here and began to run away. But they'll never be able to tell the tale of what happened to them, as they are all dead. And you're in this lair inside this iceberg, knowing at least something may lair here, though you don't know where it is or what else might be in your way before you get to it. But that is where we're going to end the session for the evening.
What? Alright.
Yep, you got some pity kobolds to kill.
I think that we massacred those guys.
Poor little guys.
I thought we were trying to keep one alive, and then y'all were just murder.
I asked.
Listen. When Mr. Pebbles turned one to a pate, like the jig's up. We've already murdered one. There's really no going back. Like, let's make it quick.
I mean, once we knew that none of them were gonna get away and
fuck
up the rest of the dungeon for us, yeah.
And what's the rest of it?
They definitely tried.
Certainly did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we let them go. But we're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of an Arctic glacier, and here are kobolds. Like, they're not here on accident. It's not like this is native territory.
Yeah, it's just you were like, hey.
Yeah, no, stop. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try.
Hey, I offered. That's all I can do.
This is what happens.
All right. So that was fun. Let's talk about upcoming schedule. So tomorrow is Amongst the Giants. I hope you will tune in for that. Should be lots and lots of fun. Usually our Giants game is really just, it's kind of over the top fun with people playing. But if not, then I hope you'll tune in Sunday or maybe even next Wednesday when we have Civil War, the finale of that. Or if you're so inclined and you enjoyed this session and the people that we had tonight, you can always jump in here, come in, say hi to us, give us some love, and stick around for whatever other games we have. We're going to go over to say hi to Welcome Party because they are live right now. So we'll go over, chat with them for a bit. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Giants if you tune in. So have a good night, and I'll see you soon.